Disclaimer. This video is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial, investment, or security advice. Always do your own research and consult a professional before making any financial decisions. Crypto investments carry risks, including loss of capital.
All right, so we've got a whole stack of articles and analyses about XRP, and well, let's just dive right in. It's one of those cryptos with, massive potential, but also facing some pretty big challenges, would you say?
Oh, absolutely. It's a bit of a roller coaster ride, this one.
Totally. So we're going to try to unpack it all, focusing on, what you need to know, like what's going on, where's it headed, that kind of thing. And, well, let's be real, the market's not looking too pretty at the moment, is it?
No, not exactly a sea of green.
XRP's down to what, like 214?
214, yeah. And the overall picture, well, things are looking, kind of bearish.
Bearish, yep. But hey, as always, there's got to be more to the story.
Oh, there always is, right? Always is. What's particularly interesting is that XRP is actually kind of diverging from the overall crypto market. The rest of the market's actually seeing some gains. So the question is, why is XRP lagging behind?
Yeah, why is it lagging? Good question. Well, let's dig in. Let's look at the technical signals first. What are the charts telling us?
Okay, so from the charts, we see XRP is trading below some key moving averages, like the 50-day and 200-day. And the RSI, well, that's dipping down towards oversold territory.
Oversold territory, okay.
Yeah.
That sounds a bit, concerning.
Right. I mean, they're definitely signs of caution. The RSI, for example, it suggests that selling pressure might be easing up a bit, but that doesn't necessarily mean a reversal is imminent.
Okay, so we can't just rely on the RSI alone.
Exactly. We got to look at it, alongside other indicators.
All right, so RSI, one piece of the puzzle. Right. Got it. Now, our sources also mention these support and resistance levels, specifically $1.88 and $2.20. Can you just walk us through those? What's the significance there?
Sure. So $1.88, that's historically been a strong demand zone. Basically, if the price dips that low, we could see buyers stepping in. On the flip side, $2.20. Well, that's kind of interesting. It's actually flipped, from being a support level to a resistance level. So if, and it's big if XRP can break above $2.20, well, that could signal a shift in momentum, maybe even, a trend reversal.
So $2.20, the magic number to watch.
Potentially. It's definitely one to watch.
Okay, so there's potential for upside, but we've also got all this talk about, the downside risk.
Yeah.
And especially with the elephant in the room,
yeah.
The SEC case. This is something that, it just keeps hanging over XRP. What's the latest there?
Yeah, it's been a major source of uncertainty, no doubt. To recap, the SEC claims XRP is a security, not a currency, which has huge implications for, everything.
Right.
How it's regulated, traded, you name it.
Right. But our sources also mention the SEC dropping enforcement actions against other crypto firms. What's that about? Does that mean, things are shifting?
Yeah.
Getting more, crypto-friendly?
Possibly. Yeah, it could indicate a softening stance, which would be, let's be honest, huge GE for the entire crypto industry, XRP included.
So it's mixed signals, right? On one hand, they're after XRP, and on the other, they're easing up elsewhere.
It definitely creates a lot of uncertainty. I think the key is you got to remember that the regulatory landscape, it's still very much evolving. What's considered a security today might not be tomorrow.
Right. Okay, so the SEC case. Still a big question mark.
Yeah.
But speaking of things that could impact XRP, there's also that interesting bit about the Trump administration and their, exploring those crypto-friendly ETF regulations. Could that come back into play?
It's an interesting thought, for sure. If those regulations were to be, revisited, implemented, it could be a real game changer in terms of, attracting those big institutional investors. And that would, definitely boost demand for XRP.
So the regulatory side, definitely something to watch closely. But let's shift gears a bit. What about the whales? What are the big players doing? Are they loading up on XRP or, heading for the exits?
Well, the on-chain data, it's pretty neutral right now. We're not seeing massive inflows or outflows from whale wallets, which kind of suggests a wait-and-see approach.
Okay, so the whales are playing it cool. But our sources also mentioned declining retail participation. What's that telling us?
It's possible those average investors are getting, a little spooked. Active addresses are down, which suggests some retail investors might be pulling back, understandably, with all this uncertainty.
Makes sense. So retail investors are getting cautious. Whales are on the sidelines. What about the exchanges? Our sources point to a slight uptick in inflows. Does that mean selling pressure?
It could, yeah. An increase in XRP flowing into exchanges, well, it often suggests that holders are getting ready to sell. Definitely something to keep an eye on.
All right, so we've got cautious retail investors, whales playing it cool, and potentially more selling pressure. Not exactly a super bullish picture, is it? But hey, let's not forget the bigger picture. We've got inflation still out there, and that can really impact these risk assets like crypto.
Oh, absolutely. High inflation tends to make investors a lot more risk-averse, which can lead to a shift away from cryptos, towards those safer assets. And this is happening across markets, not just crypto.
Right, so inflation is putting pressure on everything, including XRP. But you know what? Our sources also point to potential institutional interest. Like, if the regulatory landscape becomes more favorable, could we see more institutions getting into XRP?
It's definitely a possibility. Institutional investors, they're always looking for ways to diversify their portfolios, right? So if those regulatory hurdles are cleared, if there's more clarity around XRP's legal status, well, it could become way more attractive to those big players.
So mixed bag with the macro environment. Inflation's a headwind, but there's a chance for institutional adoption. Gotta love a glimmer of hope, right?
Gotta have hope. It's a dynamic situation, lots of moving parts.
Dynamic is a good word for it. Well, we've covered a lot in this first part of our deep dive. We looked at the technical signals, the SEC case, what the whales are doing, the retail investors, inflation, potential institutional adoption.
And we've only scratched the surface.
Just getting started. So much more to explore when it comes to XRP. We'll be back in part 2 to delve deeper into Ripple's developments and really explore those projected scenarios for XRP's price in March 2025. Make sure you tune in. Welcome back. Ready for more XRP Deep Dive?
Oh, absolutely. Even with all these charts and data and all the analysis we just did, it strikes me that there's this whole layer of psychology at play, right? Like, it's hard to quantify.
Oh, you're so right. I mean, human emotions, that's what really drives markets, especially fear and greed. Right?
Yeah, totally.
And it's like amplified in the crypto world, wouldn't you say?
For sure. Oh, and speaking of that, our sources, they actually highlighted this social sentiment data, declining mentions on, X, formerly Twitter, and a neutral bearish sentiment score overall.
Right. So even if the numbers are telling one story,
The mood,
exactly, the collective mood of the XRP community can swing things in a completely different direction. It's a good reminder to look beyond the surface, right? Not get swept up in the hype or the FUD.
Couldn't agree more. Always look beyond the surface.
Okay, so speaking of looking beyond the surface, Ripple itself. We talked about their on-demand liquidity networks, ODL.
Yeah.
But there's got to be more to their story than just that, right? What else are they doing?
Oh, tons. ODL is just one piece of the puzzle, They're constantly expanding their partnerships, trying to create more real-world uses for XRP, collaborating with banks, payment providers, even governments, you name it, all to build, this faster, cheaper, more efficient global payment system.
So it's not just speculation. They're actually building something real.
Exactly. Building the infrastructure for XRP to be used in, actual transactions. And their focus on liquidity, that's crucial for all of this. They want to make sure XRP can be easily bought and sold, anywhere, with minimal slippage.
That makes sense.
And the fact that XRP's liquidity depth, it's remained stable and spreads have tightened, even with all this, uncertainty, that says a lot about their efforts, I think.
It does. So even though the price is down, they're still pushing forward with their long-term vision.
Exactly. Long-term vision. And that's something for, long-term investors to keep in mind. This market, it's still so early. There are going to be bumps in the road. But for those who believe in the potential of blockchain and in Ripple's vision, those short-term price fluctuations, they might not matter as much.
Right. Separating the signal from the noise.
Exactly.
Focusing on those fundamentals, that long-term potential. All right, so let's circle back to those projected scenarios for March 2025. We talked about the bullish, bearish, and neutral, all based on a bunch of factors, of course, like the SEC case, the overall crypto market, Ripple's progress. So let's break it down. Bullish scenario. XRP breaks above those resistance levels we talked about, hits, $3.50 to $5. What would drive that kind of surge?
Well, a favorable outcome in the SEC case, that would be massive, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if the SEC says, hey, XRP is not a security, that removes a ton of uncertainty, and then it could really open the floodgates for institutional investment.
And then there's those potential crypto-friendly ETF regulations we talked about. If those happen...
Oh, yeah. That could fuel institutional demand even more. Drive the price up, for sure.
Okay, so Bullish scenario hinges on positive regulations, institutions getting involved, Ripple keeps doing its thing.
Pretty much.
Okay, so flip side, bearish scenario. What could trigger, a big drop?
Well, the opposite of everything we just said. Negative ruling in the SEC case, that would be rough.
A big blow.
If they say XRP is a security, that creates all these regulatory hurdles for Ripple, limits trading, could stifle growth, the whole 9 yards.
And then we can't forget the macro stuff, recession, crazy inflation.
Oh, absolutely. Investors get spooked, they run to safer assets, dump their crypto. That would put a lot of downward pressure on XRP, probably even if the SEC case goes well.
So, bearish scenario, driven by regulations, bad macro environment, maybe some setbacks for Ripple itself too.
Yep, all those things. Now, there's also that neutral scenario where XRP just kind of trades sideways for a couple years.
The dreaded sideways action.
Stalemate in the SEC case. Maybe the whole crypto market just, stagnates. No big breakthroughs, no huge adoption milestones.
So Ripple keeps making progress, but maybe not as fast.
Yeah, exactly. Regulatory uncertainty makes things harder, but they're still, building for the future.
So no crash, but no rocket to the moon either. Stuck in limbo.
Waiting for that catalyst. And that's a possibility, right? Investors need to be prepared for that.
Okay, so we've got our scenarios. Bullish, bearish, in the sideways limbo. $1,000,000 question. Which one do you think is most likely?
If I had a crystal ball,
Right.
I'd be on a beach somewhere. So many variables, honestly. But if I had to guess, leaning towards neutral at this point.
Neutral. Okay, why is that?
Well, the SEC case is just dragging on, and we have no idea when it'll be resolved or what the outcome will be, right? Macro environment, it's got its good and bad, all things considered. I think XRP probably stays in this holding pattern, at least until we get some more clarity from the SEC or some other major catalyst comes along.
So betting on neutral for now, but open to surprises.
Always got to be open to surprises in crypto. That's why it's important to, stay informed, stay adaptable, always have a plan B.
Words to live by, for sure. But before we wrap up this part, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
What's on your mind?
Well, we've talked numbers, scenarios, all that, but investing is an emotional game too, right?
It is.
So don't let fear or greed make your decisions for you. Do your research, trust your gut, and, the classic advice, only invest what you can afford to lose.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Excellent advice. We'll be back in part 3 to wrap things up with our, final takeaways, so make sure you tune in.
All right, so final part of our XRP deep dive. We've been through a lot.
Yeah, we have. Technicals, fundamentals, sentiment, even, Ripple's efforts. It's been a journey.
It has. And, it's clear XRP is at a crossroads. Big potential, but
yeah,
some serious risks too.
Absolutely. You laid out those scenarios really well. Bullish, bearish, neutral, it's all there.
And you're leaning neutral right now, right? Sideways trading until, something big happens. What would it take to, change your mind? What are you watching closely?
Well, the SEC case, for sure, that's still the big one. A clear ruling, definitively saying XRP isn't a security, that changes everything.
Game changer, yeah.
Huge amount of uncertainty gone. Institutions could finally jump in.
Right. So that's your bullish trigger. What about the flip side? What would make you think, uh-oh, this is getting bearish?
A negative ruling, for sure. If they say XRP is a security, that's a huge setback for Ripple. Regulations, limits on trading, it could really stifle their growth.
Makes sense. Anything else you're watching besides the SEC?
Keeping a close eye on the macro environment. If inflation goes crazy or we get a nasty recession, well, investors might panic, dump their risky assets, crypto included. That would put a lot of downward pressure on XRP, probably even if the SEC case goes well.
So it's not just legal battles, it's the whole economic picture too. It's easy to get caught up in the price predictions and the short-term stuff. But what about the long-term potential of XRP? Where do you see this, 5, 10 years down the line? How does it fit into the whole global financial system?
It's an interesting question for sure. If Ripple can, get through these regulatory hurdles, keep building their network, those partnerships, I really think XRP could become a major player in cross-border payments, settlements, all that.
It's easy to forget. XRP is more than just, a speculative asset.
Yeah.
There's real technology there with the potential to really change how we move money around the world.
Totally agree. That's something investors should keep in mind, no matter what your outlook is. Bullish, bearish, neutral, the long-term potential, it's hard to deny.
Well said. Well said. All right, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought.
Go ahead.
This crypto market, It's still early days. It's volatile, unpredictable, definitely not for the faint of heart.
Oh, for sure. But it's also, incredibly exciting, full of possibilities.
It is. And if you do your research, stay informed, manage your risk, well, it can be incredibly rewarding.
Totally agree. And remember, this deep dive, it's just a starting point. We gave you the information, but now it's up to you. Do your own research, make your own decisions, and most importantly, invest wisely. Only what you can afford to lose, right?
Absolutely. Great advice to end on. Thanks for joining us on this XRP deep dive. We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic, so, subscribe, stay tuned, all that good stuff.
If this video helped, hit the like button, subscribe for more crypto content, and I'll see you in the next one.